and welcome to my home. I am so glad to see you all. I'm Paula Andrea Pyle, and we're going to have a mode of cosmic therapy session today at my home. Come on in. What a beautiful day. Can you believe this weather? One day it's 19 degrees, the next day it's 56. That's life. Up and down, up and down. Beautiful, beautiful. Come on in. Like I said, I'm so glad to see you all. And for those of you who don't know a thing about mode of cosmic therapy, well, I'm going to spend the next 56, 58, 59, 37, whatever, minutes enlightening you. Like I said, I am delighted to have you visiting with me this morning in my home. And I have brought you to my most favorite place, my office and in front of the computer. The first thing I'm doing is checking Facebook just to see what's going on with all of these friends. Can you imagine 5,002 friends? I have a city. I am so excited and so delighted to have all of them interacting with me. I just love it. I love it. It's a new day, a new age, a new time we're living in. And we get to be globally connected. Doesn't that just blow your mind? Globally connected. At the push of a button, instantaneously, you can talk and interact with anybody in the entire world. Who would have ever thought of such a thing? What a glorious time it is to be alive. Most especially for you to share and interact and do whatever it is that brings you the most joy, because every single solitary person alive is an artist. That's what I said. You're an artist. Now, you may not think of yourself as an artist. You may not think of yourself artistic in the least sense, but you are. You don't have to be able to draw, write, sing, dance, play. What you are is what you are. That is the artist. Well, how, when, why, where, and to whom you express yourself naturally and conveniently. You know, I woke up this morning and I was thinking about my grandmother, who had such a powerful impact on me. Today is her birthday, and had she lived, of course she would have been too old to want to live past this age, but she would have been 111 years old. 111 years old. And the only way I could keep up with her birthday when I was a little girl was take 1 year away from whatever year it was. She was born January 6, 1901. January the 6th, 1901. She's a Capricorn. And I have never, ever been the astrologer that I am. And I am fascinated by all of the esoteric metaphysical arts and sciences and all of the various different astrologies, including, and not leaving out, Mayan, Chinese, Indian, Western. But I've never even ever looked at her planets. So I thought today, that's what I would do. Now, she was part Indian, a big part in fact, and Irish, and she married my grandfather, who was an Englishman, nobles. She was Laughing House. So just think about that, combining those two energies. So what I thought I'd do is just take a moment and look at her planets and how they were positioned on the day she was born. Of course, I have my own idea about who she was, but that is distorted and colored because I was a little girl and I loved her immensely. So that's what we do, though. You know, each one of us has an idea of the person in whom we relate. But if you want to know a person, look at the mate. Always look at the mate. You can tell so much about somebody simply by looking at his mate. Now let me see. Failed to load. Control video, soft elastic form. What in the world does that mean? Don't know. So I'm not going to get a thing to come up today. It looks like I'm not going to get one today. So we won't be doing that. Anyway, we'll go to something else. Just like life. Whatever doesn't work, work with what will. You know, I heard an old story a long time ago about two monks, and they were walking down the road, and they were committed to their beliefs and their ideologies and whatever it was that made their lives work. Well, they got to this river, and there was a woman, and she was having a hard time trying to cross over the water. She had a little girl with her. Well, one of the monks picked her up and carried her across the water. Well, the other one, and then he put her down, and they went on their way. Well, the other one was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe that he had tarnished himself, had in some way broken some deep ritualistic vow they had made. So the monk that was disturbed kept hunting for words to say to the man, his friend. And the friend picked it up and he said, "What is the matter with you? Why are you so disgruntled with me?" And he said, "Because you've broken a sacred vow. You know we are not even to speak to women, much less touch them and bring them across a water." And he said, "I carried the woman across the water, it is true, but I put her down. You're still carrying her." You see how we get ideas in our minds? We get fixated on things and we think we're supposed to continue in that way. Just like I thought I'd look up my grandmother's planets. But it's not going to be that way today. Something else is going to unfold. And if for all of those who have watched Motive Cosmic Therapy, you know that's what I do. Whatever comes out, comes in, comes up, comes down. I go with it. But what we'll do, instead of following my grandmother's planets, I think I'll just, I've never done this before, I don't think, on the show. I think I'll just deal with the tarot cards for just a second. Tarot cards, oh my goodness sakes. Oh heavens be. What in the world would an intelligent, somebody would doubt whether I'm intelligent or not, but what would an intelligent, educated person be consulting the tarot cards? Heaven forbid. Isn't there some type of idea attached to them as well? Aren't they supposed to be associated with the devil or something of that order? I don't think so. I think they're cards. I think they're pictures. I think they're images. I think they are representations of whatever you would like to ascribe to them. How about that? I love it. I just pulled the Queen of Swords quite randomly, quite unexpectedly, spontaneously. The Queen of Swords is a Capricorn woman. How about that? Now what would be the odds of that? There's 78 cards in this deck. You saw that I did not search through these cards to find this particular card, but out she popped. And in fact, the Queen of Swords cuts through the BS. And my grandmother did the same. As I said, she was part Indian and Irish. And she didn't like a lot of chit-chat. She was a hard-working woman, a farmer's wife, and she worked in the field all day, and she prepared meals, and she raised 6 children during the Depression. So she was, some would say she was stern, caustic, but she had a sense of humor that was wonderful. She was quite musical as well. But did she have time for art in her life? Of course she did. Or she wouldn't have had 6 children, been a farmer's wife, been able to prepare 3 meals, and make it through the Depression. Her name was Lizelle. She had brown eyes. Oh my goodness. This lady in this card has brown eyes. She had black hair. Of course, when I knew her, she had gray hair because she was much older. But as you see in this card, this woman carries a sword. Would that be the sword of truth? Would that be the double-edged sword that the Bible speaks about? Would that be the thing that we have inside of us to discern truth for ourselves and not be influenced and swayed and made to feel guilty and responsible and full of regret for what we did or did not do? My grandmother, Lizelle, was a woman, as I knew her as a little girl, mind you. Like I said, she had children that related to her in a different way. She had a husband that related to her We only know the relationship we have with someone. But she was a woman, like I said, that did not mince words. And she was able to take care of what she needed to take care of. I would like for that to be said about me. I would like, in my own living, my life, that I not be validated by what other people think. I'd like to be able to lay down at night and say, okay, I did this, that was good, and I did that, and that was bad, but who was it bad for? Might have been bad, it might have been good. I don't know the difference. That's what I want to be able to know, and that's how I want to operate. Now, did that sound foolish? Of course it did, because we make most of our words try to make sense. And we have such a little bit of knowledge to operate on. We only have half of it, less than half. You know, because if you're going to think about it, what are we doing here in the first place? What are we doing taking up space on this planet Earth? It could be a cosmic experience. It could be that we've come down here to learn what it feels like to be human. We could be gods in the making, but we've forgotten our heritage, divine heritage. We could be so intricately, I like that word, gets me all hung up, intricately connected to the originator of this plan that without our participation, the whole doggone experience would fall to pieces. Could be. Makes just as much sense as anything else. What else about my grandmother? She loved to laugh. You know, like I said, she was stern. She was quite stern. But she had a remarkable sense of humor and wit that was uncanny, because she found things that were not necessarily funny that were hilarious. And the way she delivered them. She delivered them without trying to make an impression. Not make an impression. Wow. Not make an impression. You know what I said just a short while ago about I'd like to lay down at night and say I did this and this was good and I did that and that was bad? That's a lie. That's not true. I don't judge what I've done in the run of the day. I just do it. If I had to think about what I was going to do before I did it, it would probably run me over the edge. Because how are we in a position to judge what we do? How are we in a place to know what we have done carries any merit? How do we know that? Because the only person, the only mind that we're using to judge and measure these things is the one that we have carried up until this point, that is distorted and colored and weighted by our personal experiences. And so therefore, usually we're going to be quite hard on ourselves, or we're going to excuse what we've done. Either way, what difference does it make? If it matters to you, that's the only person that it matters to. So, we've started off with the Queen of Swords. I'm going to call her my grandmother. Lizelle. Lizelle, she couldn't read, she couldn't write. She could not read, she could not write. 1901. And yet her love of knowledge and experience bled into me to a point that, well, I couldn't relay what she meant to me. So let's go on without her planets, using the cards just to see what might be discovered about Lizelle Nobles, Laughing House Nobles. Eight of Wands. For those of you who are familiar with the tarot, so take down those notes if you're so inclined. If you don't want to, don't do it. But like I said, this does symbolically represent a Capricorn woman, someone who is stern, someone who takes care of business, someone who is not easily influenced, and a deep, deep wit, an uncanny wit, who cuts through the BS. Remember that. Queen of Swords. Next card. Eight of Wands. My grandmother, full of ideas. The Eight of Wands represents ideas, potentiality, that which is within, that will manifest. You know, a lot of people think that astrology and having your astrological chart done, it tells you about what you're going to do or what you're not going to do. But that's not necessarily what an astrological chart is meant to do. An astrological chart is sort of like a cosmic blueprint, on the same order of your genes, but more so because even with your genes, that's part of the equation. And then you have the psychological equation, and then you have the environmental kicking in there. So with an astrological chart, you have the signs, you have the planets, and then you have the houses in how they are placed. And so in every person's natal chart, there are various different